Let's preview the trade deadline this weekend and next week, up next on a Kokomo Friday.
Alcantara, Soroka, you look so good in Boca. Peralta, Manoa, bounce back for Aaron Nola. Giolito, Castillo, Yoshida, Mosuzuka.
Happy Kokomo Friday and welcome into Fantasy Baseball today on July 18th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White. Today on the show, we have all the previews, all of the weekly previews you can imagine. If you play just this weekend, the short weekend, we've got a preview for that. If you play the 10-day scoring period from this Friday all the way until next Sunday, the 28th, I believe it is, 27th, we have a preview for that, and we will also talk about next week. So there's a lot going on today. We will also talk about the trade deadline, make some predictions here, talk about where players could be moved, which players to stash as well. Plus, we will talk about the dog of the first half, an underperforming player. Will he get back on track? Scott, are you ready? Are you physically and emotionally ready for the second half?
Oh, physically, yeah, I think I'm physically ready. I mean, I did just have a vacation last week, so gosh, I hope I'm physically ready. Emotionally, I don't know. That's going to be a tougher one. I'm not sure I'm emotionally ready for this podcast because keeping straight which sleeper recommendations are for which schedule context, I don't know. That's gonna be a challenge. That's gonna be a challenge. I've advised you to put them as far apart in the podcast as possible. So we'll see if you follow through on my advice.
Well, Scott, you are now the producer of the podcast because that is exactly where we're going to start. We are going to begin with our Week 17 preview. We'll start off there. Then later on, we will talk about specifically next week. So for those playing the short weekend, just setting your lineup for this weekend, we will start with that. And we will start with sleeper pitchers just for this weekend, Scott. So who are some pitchers you like to stream for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday?
Okay. For just the weekend, which is the default setting in CBS sports leagues. The weekend is its own unique scoring period. 3 days, obviously, our choices are limited. They're all one-start streamers, obviously. So here's what I got for you. Sean Manaea tops the list. He's going against the Reds, which isn't the best matchup, but I think Sean Manaea is just awesome. We talked about it yesterday. I have him as a sleeper for the second half, and his first outing off the IL, he struck out 7 in a little over 3 innings, showed that low arm angle still that made him so dominant down the stretch last season. And the Reds actually aren't as good against lefties, bottom 10 in OPS. So I think that'll go well for him. Fresh out of the break. Slade Cecconi, I also have here. He's going against the Athletics, but it's not in Sacramento, which helps. And, he's just been really solid overall. His last start before the break struck out 9 over 7 innings. The slider and curveball both have huge whiff rates. I think he's a sleeper regardless, Slade Cecconi, but especially going against the Athletics. We got Jeffrey Springs. He's at Cleveland. Kind of scary, the profile, because he's not missing bats like he used to and a high fly ball rate, but going back to the start of May, 14 total appearances, Jeffrey Springs has a 3.20 ERA and 103 whip. Hard to argue with that, especially as bad as the Guardians lineup has been of late. We got Trevor Rogers at Tampa Bay. So, you'd rather it not be in Tampa Bay, but they do have the 8th worst OPS against lefties. Trevor Rogers is lefty. And you look up, he's got a 1.53 ERA. He's got a 0.82 whip and 6 starts. I don't think he's that good, obviously, but he's missing bats at a good enough rate It's got a little extra zip on the fastball compared to last year. I do think we need to take Trevor Rogers seriously, and I think this matchup at Tampa Bay is okay. Michael Wacha gets the Marlins. Not as favorable of a matchup as they used to be. I don't know. I think I don't think their offense is good as it currently ranks. But Wacha is only 5th on this list because the Marlins matchup is not a slam dunk, and he's been a little shaky lately. Sandy Alcantara gets the Royals, 2nd worst offense in baseball. Strike throwing has improved over the past month, but his last few turns have been ugly. So, we're starting to get into some risky territory with only 3 pitchers to choose from on each club. JP Sears goes against the Guardians. They're weak against left-handers, and they've struggled. So Sears might do okay. Will Warren gets the Braves. I think he's over rostered actually at this point, but the Braves offense is pretty bad, and we're running out of interesting options here. Jansen Junk against the Royals. We don't think he's any good, but 2.68 ERA, 0.99 WHIP. Hopefully he'll be good for just one more start against the 2nd worst offense in baseball. And finally, Andrew Heaney gets the White Sox. Remember when he had a 1.72 ERA after 5 starts, Andrew Heaney?
Long time ago.
That was really neat. Hopefully he can rechannel that for this week for all those people who are desperate to find one last starter to fill out their lineup with only three options from each team.
Jansen Junk, by the way, also a SPARP. So if you play in points leagues and you're looking for an RP there, yes, good matchup this weekend against the Royals. What about the hitters? The best matchups for this weekend, we have the Twins with 3 games in Coors Field. We have the Pirates, Rockies, or obviously also in Coors Field, Tampa Bay Rays, and Guardians, the worst hitter matchups, Blue Jays, Angels, Cubs, Nationals, and Astros. Scott, who are some sleeper hitters just for this weekend?
For the weekend, we got Ivan Herrera, who was another one of my breakout picks, actually, for the second half. And I think it starts now. He returned final day of the first half, returned from a hamstring injury, was at DH. That's where he's going to stay. And I think he's going to mash. He has been mashing when he's been healthy, and I think it's legitimate. I think not having to catch moving forward is going to really allow him to shine with the bat. And in the 3-day scoring period, he gets Brandon Pfaadt and Ryan Nelson, which are decent matchups there for Ivan Herrera. You mentioned the Rockies at home this weekend. That's good news for Jordan Beck. That's good news for Tyler Freeman, their leadoff hitter, slashing 349, 404, 482 at home, and a good base stealer to boot. So I like both of them from the Rockies lineup. I also got Ryan McMahon here from the Rockies lineup. Josh Lowe going against the Orioles. A couple mashable righties to open the weekend, Charlie Morton and Dean Kramer. And that's at home. That's at home at Swamp Burner Field. So got to like that. Willie Castro, would you believe, in his last 39 games, Willie Castro slashing 299, 401, 515, 7 homers and 6 steals during that time. It's been great. Multi-eligible. And as you mentioned, the Twins are the team visiting Coors Field this weekend. Seems like a good time to try out Willie Castro. Also not a bad time to try out Carlos Correa, as bad as he's been all year. Final 21 games before the break, 333, 2 home runs, an 827 OPS. Hopefully Coors Field will help to validate that hot streak he has going. Ryan O'Hearn, the under-the-radar all-star. He's still batting 286 with an 840 OPS overall. And he plays against most lefties. Let's see, the 3-game series against the Rays. One lefty. No, that's the wrong team. Yeah, no lefties on the schedule. 3 righties for the series against the Rays, and that's in Swamp Burner Field. O'Hearn being a left-handed hitter, that short porch and right, that could go very well for him. We got Chandler Simpson here, since the Rays have good matchups against the Orioles staff. And finally, Carlos Santana against the Athletics, which I don't feel great about, but There you go. That's number 10 on the list, Carlos Santana.
And again, those were the sleepers for just this weekend.
Just this weekend.
Roto leagues, you're just setting your lineup for this weekend. What about for the long week 17? So this is the 10-day scoring period for those who likely play in a weekly head-to-head league. You might be playing this type of format from July 18th through July 27th. So the extra long scoring period here, and it's a lot of names, Scott, you already talked about, but with just some added matchups here. The pitchers, Manaea, Ciccone, Waka, Rogers, Springs. You mentioned all five. Anything else you'd like to add on them for the long week?
Yeah, for the long week, a lot of their situations actually improve. So that's the second matchup for Manaea is at San Francisco. Obviously, a really good place to pitch. He could get 15 plus strikeouts between those two starts. He has that kind of upside. Ciccone, the second matchup is against the Orioles. So Athletics was a little iffy, but Orioles better. Michael Waka, his second matchup is Cleveland. So Marlins and Guardians in the 2-game scoring period. That's great. Trevor Rogers, his second matchup, Colorado, away from Coors Field. So he gets the Rays who struggle against lefties, and then the Rockies who struggle against everybody. It's a good time to try out Trevor Rogers. He's actually 62% rostered. That kind of surprised me that it was that high. And then Jeffrey Springs. Yeah, his second matchup's a little worse at Houston, but that's not a bad matchup.
And then the sleeper hitters include four names you already mentioned: Ivan Herrera, Jordan Beck, Josh Lowe, Ryan O'Hearn. The name at the top of the list, your boy, Addison Barger.
Yeah. So Barger gets a little bit of a benefit here when the week is extended to 10 days instead of 3. Because the toughest series is that first series, the weekend series. So things look a lot better with it stretched out. And looks like only 2 of the 10 pitchers on the schedule are left-handers, which means Barger should be playing a lot. And you know how much I like him. One of my breakout picks for the second half.
All right. Again, those are the sleepers if you're setting your lineup on Friday, regardless of what type of format you play in. Later on, we'll preview next week's schedule starting on Monday like we normally do. We'll talk about 2-star pitchers, all that fun stuff. We'll do that a little bit later on in the show. Just a reminder that you can listen to our 10-minute podcast, FBT Express, on both Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to this podcast. Make sure to download and follow that one. And big thanks to those watching us live. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe on YouTube as well. Let's take our first break. When we return, a little trade deadline preview. We'll do that right after this.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball today, and we are previewing the trade deadline. Players most likely to be dealt, landing spots. Will it create an opening that matters, whether it's for a prospect or who the next man up would be in the bullpen for saves? So I have all the teams that I think are most likely to be sellers, Scott, and we'll just go down the list. We'll have some fun here. The D-backs, to me, are at the top because they are 5.5 games out of a wild card spot. They lost Corbin Burns. Their entire bullpen seems to be out right now. They lost Puck and Justin Martinez, Shelby Miller, and they have some really interesting players here. 4 expiring contracts in Eugenio Suarez, Josh Naylor, Merrill Kelly, and Zach Gallen. Now, I don't know that all 4 of them will be dealt, but I feel pretty good that at least multiple of these players will be dealt by the trade deadline here. And the 2 big bats, Eugenio Suarez, some possible landing spots here, the Yankees, Cubs, Brewers, Mariners, and then Josh Naylor, some landing spots for him, Mariners, Giants, Red Sox, Reds. My prediction for these 2, I think Suarez winds up with the Cubs. Josh Naylor winds up with the Mariners, although the Reds would be pretty awesome for his value. Any thoughts on those 2, Scott? Suarez and Naylor, do you think they're gone?
That makes a lot of sense for Suarez, especially since Jordan Lawler, he's a couple years overdue for a true opportunity, not just, oh yeah, we'll move him around the diamond, play him a couple times a week, see if he gets hot, but really commit to him as a starter. Allow him to shine. I mean, he still has a lot of upside. He's still widely considered one of the top prospects in baseball. And since Suarez's contract is expiring, I think that makes a lot of sense. I'm trying to see how good he's had it in Arizona the past 2 years, and yeah, each of the last 2 years, his numbers are markedly better at home than on the road.
Hmm.
So he really likes hitting in Arizona, and he had his struggles in the years before then with Seattle and even late in his time in Cincinnati. So that would be one thing to consider if he is dealt. But he'd be in a good lineup, presumably, with the contender. He's already in a good lineup. Yeah, it's hard to see his stock improving, I guess, with the trade. I'm not saying it'll tank. I'm not saying there's bust risk here with Suarez, but it's hard to see his stock improving. I agree Josh Naylor would benefit from a small park. I'm not sure I want to see him go to San Francisco or Seattle.
Seattle's
that's
offense so bad, so I could see them making the deal, but obviously the Reds would be the best landing spot.
Yeah, that would be the best one. I agree. You're suggesting maybe Adrian Del Castillo could see playing time if they move Naylor and that.
Yeah.
He's not really a catcher, but the little bit he's played in the majors filling in as a catcher, he showed a lot of offensive potential. The minor league numbers look great for Adrian Del Castillo, and he'd at least have catcher eligibility for now. Granted, in the year where that's least useful because there have been so many breakout catchers. But yeah, that's an interesting possibility if Naylor's moved. And as for Kelly and Gallen, it wouldn't hurt. It wouldn't hurt to see them with a true contender. I think Gallen especially could do with the change of scenery.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing in the underlying numbers. I mean, a lot of the damage done to Zach Gallen has been self-imposed. It's a lot of walks and giving up a lot of hard contact the past couple of years as well. So I agree. I think a change of scenery maybe can help Zach Gallen get back on track. Some possible landing spots for either of these names: the Cubs, Mets, Yankees, Blue Jays, Padres, Reds. I think the Mets and Blue Jays will be the most aggressive in trying to bring in a starting pitcher. The Yankees as well. I don't know that they'll go, all the way to the top of the market. I do think they'll bring in a pitcher, but I don't think it will be Zach Gallen. So Merrill Kelly's had a great season as well. Not sure that it would change much for him, but yeah, Zach Gallen, change of scenery might be good for him. Taking a look at the AL Central, Scott. I mean, the Twins, Guardians, Royals, they're kind of tough to figure out. They're all between 4 and 4.5 games out of a wild card spot, but all three have intriguing options that they could offer up via trade. I think the Twins are probably the most likely to sell from this group. And obviously, if they do, the bullpen pieces are, most exciting, I would imagine, for a lot of teams around the league. Yohan Duran and Griffin Jacks. Possible landing spots here. I mean, every contender has more bullpen pieces, but I mean, in particular, the Tigers, Dodgers, Cubs, Phillies, Astros, Yankees, Mets, Giants. I mean, imagining Duran going to a team like the Phillies or the Cubs. I mean, Palencia has been great, but if they get a proven closer, I think that they would probably go with that option. Duran could really pick up more value here. Jax, if he's traded, I think he's most likely to still wind up in a setup reliever role. I mean, it could depend on where he winds up, but I think Duran, if he goes somewhere where he's just the closer, could actually see a spike in value.
Yeah, I think if Jax went to the Phillies, like the Phillies have not settled their closer situation, and I don't think Matt Strom or Orion Kerkering has really seized the moment there to solidify that role. To the point that, it's not going to be that much longer before Jose Alvarado is back from his 80-game suspension. And I saw somebody pick him up in a 24-team league the other day, and I thought, it's not a bad idea because they could go back to Alvarado if they don't acquire somebody. It's a good chance they acquire somebody. I mean, they're clear contenders. They did last year getting Carlos Estevez. So I expect that to happen again. And maybe it's Duran, maybe it's Jax. More likely someone else, I think. I don't know that those are the clearest relief pitcher targets on the market, the easiest to acquire. But one name I have seen bandied about from the Twins is Joe Ryan. Joe Ryan seems like a popular trade target among at least the fan bases of teams that are looking for a starting pitcher. I know there's been some there's been some talk about the Red Sox. It's going to take a haul, I think, because he's got years of control left, and he's performed like a top-end pitcher certainly this year. So it would take a big package, I think, to move Joe Ryan.
Yeah.
But I don't think there are going to be a lot of true difference maker starting pitchers on the market. I think there are going to be some rotation stabilizer types, and maybe that'll be enough to satisfy most of the contenders. But if one really wants to upgrade their rotation, and the Red Sox do make sense, apart from Garrett Crochet, right? I mean, the rotation's pretty shaky. They might need to go for the big fix there.
Well,
Joe Ryan is a possibility.
Giolito's been pitching better, and we know Brian Bayo's been pitching well for them too. So they absolutely could use more. I just don't know if maybe they talk themselves into, hey, these other pitchers have stepped up. Maybe we don't really need to get a big name on the market or something. I did see reports earlier that kind of shot down that Joe Ryan will be dealt, but you never know. I mean, if some team approaches the Twins and gives them a Godfather deal, then there is a chance that they would be willing to listen on someone like Joe Ryan. If the Twins were to trade both Duran and Griffin Jacks, who do you think would be next up for saves? Louis Varland and Brock Stewart have both had strong seasons. Varland has recently worked the 7th inning in both of the last save opportunities. So I think if both of those guys were to go, my guess is it would be Varland. What do you think?
So my last bullpen report of the first half, I did a bullpen breakdown for every team, the pecking order for saves. And so I'm going to reference that. The pecking order I put for the Twins: Yohan Duran, Griffin Jacks, Louis Varland. So I'm right there with you.
All right. And it is possible they trade Duran and keep Griffin Jacks. And if they do that, obviously Jacks would likely wind up in the 9th inning and would gain a lot of value there as well. Do the Guardians actually trade Emmanuel Clase? He is signed through 2026. He also has team options for 27 and 28. It does seem like one of these kind of shrewd moves. Teams like the Guardians, the Brewers, they have shipped out great closers in the past as well. So can the Guardians do it again? All the same landing spots we talked about before. The Phillies, I mean, just makes so much sense to go out there and get Emmanuel Clase. Obviously, the Cubs, the Tigers, the Dodgers would be insane. You can never rule it out. Scott, what do you think? Does Emmanuel Clase get traded? And if so, is it Cade Smith or Hunter Gaddis next up for saves?
I think we already know it's Cade Smith. And I haven't.
He's been working the 7th recently with
yeah,
Hunter
but that was true also before when he filled in for Emmanuel Clase. He kind of leapfrogged Hunter Gaddis. And Hunter Gaddis has been pretty awful lately. It's worth noting. So I do think Cade Smith, in leagues where saves are scarce, a good choice to potentially pick up and stash. I don't know. I don't know that I'd put the I'd give it less than a coin's flip chance that Clase gets traded because he has 3 more years of team control left, and they're pretty affordable years for arguably, if not the best closer in baseball, then one of the top 5, clearly. And I imagine there will be more affordable relievers on the market that would prevent a contender from giving the Guardians what's required to pry away Clase. But it's certainly not unthinkable.
Mm-hmm. And then we have the Royals, who also have a bunch of interesting pieces. Seth Lugo, Michael Wacha, Carlos Estevez, Lucas Urseg. I personally don't think that they're going to sell, Scott. They're 4.5 games out of a wildcard spot. They probably don't make the playoffs either, but with Bobby Witt Jr. in his prime, yes, he's locked up for a long time. They called up Caglione. They've made kind of aggressive moves here. I think they're going to still try and compete for a wildcard spot this year. I would be surprised if the Royals actually sell off any pieces here.
I'm not sure I agree. Because I just don't see it. Looking at their roster, I mean, their best pitcher, Chris Bubich, we talked about, he's kind of fading down the stretch here as he transitions back into a rotation. The innings seem like they're catching up to him. It might make sense for them to pull back on him and kind of put him on ice for next year, or for a trade possibility this offseason, sort of like the White Sox did with Garrett Crochet last offseason, given that next year is the last year that the Royals control Chris Bubich. And if he is the real deal, I doubt they're going to be able to afford him beyond that. So so there's the Bubich issue there, and their lineup it has some pieces, but it has not performed. It's the second worst in baseball in terms of runs scored. And I don't see. I mean, I guess I can see it getting better because obviously I think Jack Caglione clicks here at some point soon, and Jonathan India has been an underperformer by the Statcast data. So it could be a little better in the second half, but I just don't think it's good enough. Particularly since their rotation is again, its best pitcher from the first half very likely isn't going to be its best pitcher from the second half. And like, Michael Wacha, Seth Lugo, these aren't the sort of assets that a team is reluctant to trade if the right offer comes along,
Agree with that. I think all those names are still signed through next year, and I think the Royals will talk themselves into, all right, well, we're still going to try and be competitive next year as well, right? So why give up pitchers that we have under contract, if they had
Lugo, I'm looking at it now. Lugo has a player option for next year, which I imagine he'll decline. $15 million.
15 million? I don't know. He probably will.
He's definitely improved his value since he signed that deal.
Right. All right. So, we'll see. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think the Royals are going to make it, but I just think that they're going to talk themselves into at least trying and not selling here at the deadline. I did want to mention with the Twins, a few of their position players, I guess, that they could be shopping. Willie Castro, I've seen floated around. Harrison Bader makes a lot of sense. And if they were to trade both of those names, obviously Luke Cashel, we brought up as a sleeper on yesterday's podcast. And if they move Harrison Bader, Emmanuel Rodriguez is a name to pay attention to there. A Twins prospect who has a great eye at the plate, good OBP, some power, some speed, and maybe a name that could be called up later on in the season. So just watch there if they do trade away a Harrison Bader. What about the Orioles? I think in their lineup, Cedric Mullins and Ryan O'Hearn feel like guarantees to be moved at the deadline. Mullins makes a lot of sense with teams like the Astros, the Blue Jays, the Mets, Phillies. All could use upgrades in center field. For Ryan O'Hearn, the Mariners, Brewers, Red Sox, Reds. If you're looking to, upgrade a DH, first base, maybe some corner outfield, something like that. And if the Orioles trade both of those names, Ryan Mountcastle's getting ready to return. I think he steps back in. Personally, Scott, I think, it's long overdue. We'd all like to just see the young players play. It's give Kobe Mayo a shot, give Heston Kjerstad a chance to play every day, maybe even Samuel Basayo, and let's see what these guys can do. But I think it's pretty likely Mullins and O'Hearn are dealt here at the deadline.
Yeah, it's possible they could get something for Ramon Laureano, who's kind of just a space filler for them, but has performed well, and that would also free up a lineup spot for some of those corner guys. This will be an interesting team to watch because they have had a bottleneck here between AAA and the majors. A bottleneck of talent has formed, and they've struggled to find at bats for players who don't have a clear position. You mentioned a lot of them already. I'd be most excited to see Samuel Basayo, who's crushing it at AAA. I mean, his exit velocity numbers down there are like Kyle Schwarber, and he's walking at a high rate. The strikeouts are well under control. He's a catcher, technically, but he's not really a catcher. So it is a bit of a situation there between Mayo and Basayo, but I think Basayo is the better hitting talent at this point. He's played some first base in the minors, so he certainly has exposure to that. I named Samuel Basayo my number 2 prospect at the midway point here. My top 50 prospects, midseason prospects came out this week. Basayo was number 2, and I was really tempted to put him number 1.
All right. Well, It's going to be interesting to see what the Orioles do with Basayo and Rutschman long term. Had Welsh on the other day to talk about MLB draft and recapping some of the picks there. The Orioles just drafted the top catcher, college catcher as well, and then another position player, an Ike Irish, who played catcher and outfield in college. So just lots of catchers here for the Orioles. Interested to see what they do long term there. Just wanted to mention with Mullins, I think he winds up with one of the Astros or the Mets. I think those two teams will be the most aggressive in trying to get a center fielder. Mullins, Luis Robert, the other name. I think those two names wind up with one of the Astros or the Mets here at the deadline. In the Orioles rotation, Charlie Morton and Tomoyuki Sugano seem very likely to be dealt. I've seen Trevor Rogers' name start to pop up here as well. I don't think Rogers will be dealt. He, has finally turned it on. I think he has a couple more years of control as well, at least one more. Obvious landing spots here for Morton or Sugano: Cubs, Mets, Yankees, Blue Jays, Padres, Reds. I've heard Red Sox with Charlie Morton. Maybe a reunion there with Alex Cora, I guess, is a possibility. I don't know that either one's value would get much better. I mean, I guess Morton going to a winning team would help, but Sugano, we don't really have much interest in.
I mean, we don't have much interest in either. Morton's been a little better lately, but you know what? If Rogers is moved, it'll be fascinating to see if they can recoup what they gave up in the Marlins deal to get him, which was
they're not getting Kyle Stowers. I'll tell you,
Connor Norby and Kyle Stowers. Yeah, that's what they gave up for Trevor Rogers. So yeah, that's going to be a letdown if it does happen, whatever they get.
In the Orioles bullpen, I could see everybody except Felix Bautista getting moved, and maybe Bautista could, if they get an offer they can't refuse. But I think Sir Anthony Dominguez, Gregory Soto, Andrew Kittredge all make a lot of sense to be moved there. Let's talk about those Marlins. They're kind of in a weird spot because Edward Cabrera left his most recent start with elbow discomfort. It sounds like he won't miss any time, but that does throw a bit of a wrench in his trade value. And then Sandy Alcantara, who was supposed to be the top pitching asset at this deadline, it seemed like a foregone conclusion coming into the season. All right, Sandy, come back from Tommy John, rehab your value, trade it at the deadline, get a huge haul. He has a 7.22 ERA and a 1.48 WHIP. So, Scott, do you think either or both Edward Cabrera or Sandy Alcantara is moved here at the deadline?
It's possible, just because there are only so many starting pitchers on the market, and every contender, I'm sure, wants another starting pitcher. And teams are, they look beyond ERA. They look well beyond ERA at this state of player evaluation. We're well beyond that at this point.
The underlying numbers for Sandy aren't great either, though.
Yeah, but they look beyond that too. They're not. They could see that the stuff is there. They could see that the control has gotten a lot better. I don't think they're going to successfully lowball the Marlins for him. And so maybe that means he stays put. He is under control for a couple more years, a team option that second year. But I think it's possible that they believe in the talent enough still that they give him they pay a pretty good amount for him.
Mm-hmm. I don't think Sandy will get traded, actually. I think the Marlins will hold him and try and continue to rehab his value and maybe trade him in the offseason or trade deadline next year. If Cabrera comes out of the break and has one or two healthy starts, I do think he'll be moved, and we've heard him linked to the Cubs over and over. The Cubs have really scouted both of these Marlins pitchers, and so that seems like a pretty good match there if Edward Cabrera could wind up on the Cubs, and vice versa. I mean, the Marlins need some young bats. Cubs have all these outfield prospects, so if they do wind up trading an Owen Casey away or Kevin Alcantara or someone like that, that is a young prospect that could step right into a major league opportunity and maybe have some value down the stretch. So just pay attention to some of the names that are traded away, the prospects who are traded in deals as well.
Yeah, Owen Casey especially. I mean, Kevin Alcantara, he's always been a little more sizzle than steak, and I'm not sure he's progressed enough in the minors that I can get excited about a new opportunity for him. But Owen Casey is huge power, and he's definitely stepped up his home run production in the minors this year. Strikeouts are too high, but he walks a lot, and high strikeouts really haven't impacted him as a hitter. Yeah, he's already. I think he's already has 19 home runs this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely deserving of an opportunity, and there just isn't one in the Cubs outfield, which is the best outfield in baseball.
19 home runs for Owen Casey in 73 games at AAA. That also comes with a 92.1 average exit velocity this season. Scott, your Atlanta Braves. It has been a disaster season. I am sorry. 9.5 games out of a wild card spot. Sounds like they will listen on expiring deals. I saw an interview earlier today with Robert Murray where he said a Brave source told him no players with control beyond this season will be moved. That includes Sean Murphy. So
who reported that?
That was Robert Murray. I heard that in an interview earlier today.
Yeah, Dave O'Brien was saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Who's probably the most well-known of the Braves beat writers.
So, I mean, it would be a great move for fantasy, right? If we can free up time for both Sean Murphy and forgetting his name, catcher on the Braves. Other one that's good, Scott.
Jake Baldwin.
There you go.
David O'Brien, excuse me. Dave O'Brien is a different media figure.
Yes, but it would be great if we can open up time for both Sean Murphy and Drake Baldwin. Not so sure that's going to happen. So Marcell Ozuna and Raisel Iglesias feel like the most likely, if they do listen and they do trade anyone. Ozuna landing spots, Mariners, Brewers, Reds, Mets. The Reds and Mets, I mean, the Mets, the lineup would be nice. The Reds, obviously the ballpark. Brewers, pretty good ballpark as well. Iglesias, I don't know if they trade within the division, but obviously like the Phillies would be a great spot. The Cubs, the Tigers, the Dodgers. One thing to note too, Scott, is that there are opportunities for current closers to go to teams where they will not close.
Mm-hmm.
If Iglesias goes to the Dodgers, probably not the closer. So keep that in mind as well.
Yeah. I mean, that's what happened to him that when he went to Atlanta from the Angels. They had Kenley Jansen at that point. The Braves did, not the Angels. And they made Raisel Iglesias the eighth inning guy down the stretch. So yeah, same could happen to him again. I don't think the in-division thing matters. It's an expiring contract, and clearly, if the Braves are dealing these guys, they're giving up for this season. They should at this point, because even a 10-game winning streak would leave them under 500. So yeah, I don't know that the return is going to be. I mean, Ozuna is a DH with a tear in his hip in the last year of his contract. I can't imagine there's much of a return for that on the trade market. I could be wrong. Maybe he gets hot the next week or two and the market heats up for him. But Iglesias, he has turned things around, and every team needs a reliever. So maybe they could get something for him that makes it worth their while. I still don't think it's impossible they trade Sean Murphy, but it does seem like they'd have to be, kind of bowled over to do it. And I'm not sure that sort of deal is out there for them. As for who benefits from this, Dylan Lee seems like the obvious choice. It's possible they trade him too, but my guess is they want it because he is under control beyond this year, and he's been on paper their best reliever this year. So
yeah,
he could find his way. At least the last 2 months of the season, he could emerge as a safe source.
Next up, we have the Pirates. It seems pretty likely that they'll sell as well. We have Mitch Keller and Andrew Heaney, along with some bullpen pieces here. Mitch Keller, the Cubs, Blue Jays, Yankees, Mets. I keep kind of talking myself into Mitch Keller to the Yankees. The Yankees and Pirates have made a good amount of trades in the past. They got Jamison Tyone before. It could wind up being a bigger deal where it's, Mitch Keller and like a David Bednar or Dennis Santana, and maybe Spencer Jones is going the other way to the Pirates, something like that. I could see it happening here. So this is one of the landing spots. Mitch Keller to the Yankees or Mets, I could see that happening for sure. And once the Pirates move starters in their rotation, I mean, it almost has to be Bubba Chandler time, right?
Yeah, I would think so. And it's worth noting that the control issues that plagued Bubba Chandler for a long stretch, he's turned it around his last 2 starts, throwing strikes at a much better rate. I think he went 6 innings at both of those starts. I kind of wonder if he was pressing You know, he didn't get called up when he should have in May, and so he's like, "Oh man, I got to work harder to win them over," and that's kind of what contributed to that stretch of wildness for Bubba Chandler. But I do think we're definitely going to see him at some point in the second half. Maybe it's because Mitch Keller gets traded, and I think Mitch Keller could snag a nice return. He's under control. He's a better pitcher in real life. Yeah, I feel like he has more real life value than in fantasy because he's such an innings eater, and that is so valuable in a way that I don't think the average fan appreciates. If you can just keep the game from getting away over 7 innings, you know, even if your ERA it's up 4 or whatever for the season, it really does a lot to save the bullpen and to just prevent just keep the game competitive in a way that championship teams can usually take advantage of. And I see Keller as somebody who could be one of the biggest winners at the deadline. You know, he's been pretty good this year, especially lately, but he's 3-10, and that crushes his fantasy value. So just going to a contender would help a lot.
I think it was Chris who brought up that stat the other day, right? Whereas the most starts with 6+ innings, and I think 2 runs or less allowed without a win, and it was Skeens and Mitch Keller at the top of the list. So yeah, getting him some run support definitely would help. I think both David Bednar and Dennis Santana will be on the move here. Bednar, local guy. It's going to cost, I think, a pretty penny for him to get moved, but it does make some sense. And I think, like we were talking about with Iglesias, Bednar is a candidate that can go to a team like the Astros, the Mets, or Yankees and not be the closer on that team. So keep that in mind with him. If both Bednar and Santana are moved, who is next up for saves?
It would be
It might not matter, to be honest, but
yeah.
I was going to throw out 2 names, Isaac Matson and lefty Caleb Ferguson.
Yeah, Isaac Matheson is who I had in that final bullpen report where I did a breakdown for all 30 teams. He's 3rd in the pecking order there. I was just going to say it'd be funny if the Yankees acquired Dennis Santana.
They had him last year.
They had him last year, and the Pirates got him from the Yankees on waivers. So, oops.
Yeah, that would not the greatest look. You know, he goes to the Pirates and figures things out, and now you gotta pay a price to get him back. I guess Brian Hayes, there's a chance he could be moved, but he hasn't shown anything offensively. I don't know that him even going to a team like, you know, the Yankees or Cubs or wherever would help his value out. For the White Sox, Adrian Hauser seems pretty likely here. He's been a great story this season, velocity up, pitching well. Whoever misses out on the Gallons and Kellers and Edward Cabreras of the world likely falls back on someone like Adrian Hauser. Luis Robert, I mentioned this earlier. I think it actually does happen. I think he is traded despite his value basically being in the tank. And I think one of the Mets or Astros winds up getting Luis Robert. And like Zach Gallen, Scott, maybe this is just a change of scenery where, you know, he joins a contending team and maybe it just kind of lights a fire and gets something going here with Luis Robert.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. It's obviously kind of a wishful thought, but it's not unprecedented, and we know how talented he is, and he's still only 27, and he still generates premium exit velocities. Really, one of the biggest issues is the strikeouts have just gotten away from him the past 2 years, but we saw him in back-to-back years, 19% strikeout rate, 21% strikeout rate. Like that's something that he is capable of overcoming. And yeah, it's armchair psychology, but I kind of wonder how happy he is with the White Sox given their current state. So yeah, change of scenery I think would definitely benefit Luis Robert, and this is his second to last year of control, right?
I think he has two team options for both after this season and the next.
But they're $20 million options.
So he might just be an expiring deal.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, maybe.
I don't know how likely
I would think they'd want to get something for him rather than just let him go, given that he was such an asset for them so recently. So yeah, I agree. This might be the time. I didn't think it was going to happen last trade deadline, and it didn't. But they're kind of getting to a decision point with him now that the team options are coming up, as opposed to the renewal of that deal being more automatic. Let's see who else here. White Sox. Yeah, I guess that's it.
Yeah, I'm going to just run through a couple of these other teams. For the Nationals, maybe they trade away a Nate Lowe or a Josh Bell. Kyle Finnegan always seems like a candidate to get traded away. Could very easily wind up on a team where he is not the closer anymore. Scott, who would be next up for saves in Washington? Looks like lefty Jose Ferrer. Is that who you think? Does it matter?
Brad Lord. Yeah, it's going to be somebody who's not very good. I mean, Kyle Finnegan's not very good, and he's managed to rack up saves there.
True.
Yeah.
For the Athletics, there's been some buzz about Luis Severino, who clearly does not want to pitch in Sacramento, but he's also owed $44 million over the next 2 years, and he has an ERA over 5. I don't know that anyone's going to be trading for Luis Severino. Would they actually move Mason Miller? Sounds like teams are interested in trying to acquire him and converting him back into a starting pitcher, at least based on what I read and heard. Obviously, it would take a lot to get him if he were moved on the off chance. I think Sean Newcomb, lefty Sean Newcomb, he has pitched the 8th inning in their last 2 saves. I guess he would be next up for saves if Mason Miller were moved.
Michael Kelly is a possibility, unless he's gotten hurt in the last 2 weeks, which with pitchers, you never know.
No,
it looks like he's healthy.
He's healthy, yeah.
Yeah, he's got a 1.38 ERA.
Okay.
Does he? 13 appearances? Yeah. Okay. He hasn't been up for as long as I thought he was.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wouldn't be anybody good. It wouldn't be anybody that we would be excited to pick up. Yeah, that Mason Miller to the rotation, that he couldn't hold up in that role. That was how he ended up in the bullpen in the first place. Just couldn't stay healthy. Understandably, as hard as he throws.
Mm-hmm. And the Rockies, they don't really have much to offer, but maybe this is the year Ryan McMahon is dealt. Tyro Estrada is on a 1-year deal. They do have some relievers, a Jake Bird, Seth Halverson, maybe. I could see Ryan McMahon happening. The Yankees need a third baseman. That could make some sense. Short porch in right field. So we'll see. Obviously, any hitter leaving Coors Field, that obviously is not great for their value. I didn't mention the Angels, Scott, just because I have no idea. They feel like such a wild card. It's just I guess they can move Kenley Jansen. They're 4 games out of a wild card spot now. Maybe they just try to go for a wild card spot. I don't know. If they trade him, Reed Detmers could be the closer. And
yeah, he could be. And Chris mentioned this in the Sleepers breakouts and Bust Pod for the second half. Reed Detmers would gain a lot of value because he seems like the obvious choice to close if Kenley Jansen is traded, and maybe he'd be the closer for the next 3 or 4 years after that. Seems like he may have found his niche there after kind of teasing his potential for a long time. Another name I wanted to mention who could gain value in fantasy very quickly at the trade deadline, and kind of going back to the Cubs here, and it was mentioned by a lot of commenters, Moises Ballesteros, as a trade chip for the Cubs to acquire what they need. He is, we saw him in the majors briefly. He's a catcher who may not actually be good enough to catch, but he's 5'9". So do you really want to stick him at first base? Oh, they already have Michael Busch there having a breakout season. So it just doesn't seem like there's an avenue for him with the Cubs, and yet he is banging on the door to the majors. So it makes sense that he could be this year's Agustin Ramirez.
Yeah.
Except, more immediately up in the majors if he did get traded.
All right, that was our trade deadline preview. Before we get to our final break, I do want to talk about the dog of the first half. This is an underperforming player. Can they turn it around? Let's find out. Now it's time for the dog of the first half segment, brought to you by Boehringer Ingelheim, the maker of NexGard Plus, afoxolaner, moxidectin, and parental chewable tablets. Used with caution in dogs with a history of seizures or neurologic disorders. Ask your vet if NexGard Plus is right for your dog. And let's talk about Michael Harris, Scott, whose preseason ADP was 47. As the 19th outfielder off the board, he currently ranks 401st overall. He is hitting .210 with 6 homers, 12 steals, a .551 OPS. everything has just dropped off here. He's chasing more than ever. The ground ball rate is up. Quality of contact is down. Scott, I know you watch a lot of Braves games. Is there any hope here? Is there just a blind leap of faith chance that Michael Harris can get back on track?
Yeah, I think there definitely is. And in fact, that's my expectation. Now, I do feel a bit validated because Michael Harris was one of my avoid players coming into the season. And if you avoided him, you're obviously feeling good about that. But I didn't expect it to go like this, and I don't think it will continue to go like this. The biggest reason why is you don't do what he did for 3 years. You don't fake that. That's not fake. You could fake it for 1 year, but 3 years of impactful production for fantasy prior to turning 24 years old, like there's just not much precedent for that. And yeah, he's struggled, no doubt. He's struggled. We've seen struggles from him, prolonged struggles from Michael Harris in the past. I go back to his sophomore season for his first. Let's see how many games it was. For his first 38 games of his sophomore season into June, because he missed some time with an injury, but it was into June. He was hitting 163 with a 490 OPS. He ended up hitting 293 with an 808 OPS last year. Even looking just last year, Michael Harris had not very good until September, when suddenly he blew up with huge numbers that kind of salvaged his season stat line. So this is the way it sometimes goes in baseball, and has particularly gone for Harris, where he'll seem, he's always been a bad plate discipline guy. He just seems to get lost at the plate. But once it clicks in place, he can make up a lot of ground in a very short period of time. It's gone on for so long that I don't think he's going to I think the season long stat line for Harris is going to look pretty bad no matter where it winds up. But what matters for fantasy purposes, obviously, is from today forward. And from today forward, I still think he could be pretty good. I'm not saying you should be starting him right now. I think we need to see signs of a turnaround for that to happen. But I would be very reluctant to drop him, particularly in categories leagues. Points leagues, he was always kind of not the best point league contributor. So it wouldn't be so crazy if he was on waiver wire in a points league. But categories leagues, certainly 5 outfielder leagues, Harris should be rostered. If you could buy him for 25 cents on the dollar, I think that's a good idea. I think better days are ahead for Harris. It's just, there's just no predicting when. And maybe it doesn't happen this year. Maybe it happens next year. But there is no way of forecasting exactly when it'll happen. But I do feel confident that at some point it'll happen.
I look forward to drafting Michael Harris outside of the top 150 picks next offseason, because I still think he's a talented player. I know it hasn't happened this year, but obviously for him to do what he did at such a young age, I would still be looking to buy on the very, very cheap, if you can, with a Michael Harris. That was the dog of the first half segment, brought to you by Boehringer Ingelheim, the maker of NexGuard Plus, a Fox Lantern, Moxidectin, and parental chewable tablets. They provide next-level parasite protection against fleas, ticks, heartworm disease, roundworms, and hookworms, all in a tasty beef-flavored soft chew, used with caution in dogs with a history of seizures or neurologic disorders. Dogs should be tested for existing heartworm infection prior to starting a preventive. Ask your vet about NexGuard Plus chews. Let's take our final break. When we return, a Week 18 preview. We'll do that right after this.
The crowd loves champions.
Gladiator 2 is an epic spectacle.
To amuse you is my only wish.
The glory is yours, not mine.
Very good.
Gladiator 2, rated R, now streaming on Paramount Plus.
Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball today. Now it's time for the Week 18 preview, brought to you by Travis Matthew, apparel designed for confidence and comfort, no matter where the day takes you. All right, here we are. This is the preview for next week, starting Monday, July 21st through Sunday, July 27th. So again, to avoid confusion, we spoke about, this weekend up at the top. Now we're talking about next week. Now, starter sit these 2-star pitchers for next week, Scott. Zach Gallen, who has been mostly bad this year. He gets the Astros and at the Pirates.
All right, so just I really want to drive home the point. This segment here only applies to those who are treating this first weekend as its own scoring period. And it's not for those, it's not for this weekend, it's for the following week. By the time you hear from us again, you'll already be thinking about that first full week after the All-Star break because the weekend will be behind us. Okay. So yeah, this is the normal timeline for the following week when we talk about it, but it is a little confusing based on just the weirdness of a scoring period beginning on a Friday. So yeah, beginning for the scoring period that begins Monday. My top sleeper pitchers. You wanted the 2-star. Oh, we're doing 2-start options for it, right?
Well, I asked you about Zach Gallen.
You
We're
asked
just
me
doing
about
starter
Zach Gallen
synopsis. Zach Gallen against the Astros and at the Pirates.
I probably just succeeded in confusing everybody further, so I'm sorry about that. Those matchups are pretty good. So, Gallen's final start of the first half was pretty awful. The two before them pretty excellent. I'm leaning yes. I could understand maybe not doing it in a roto league, but those matchups are really good.
Kevin Gausman is home against the Yankees and at the Tigers.
We are probably going to do that in a points league, but not in roto because those
What
are tough
about
matchups.
Tomoyuki Sugano, who has not been good, but these matchups at Cleveland and home against the Rockies.
Do love those matchups. It's been a long time since Sugano has given us a worthwhile start. So I think I'm going to pass on him. I could see it in a points league, but have to be pretty desperate.
And Cade Horton, another one with great matchups here against the Royals and at the White Sox.
Yeah, sort of the same thing as I said about Sugano. Not the craziest idea, but for me, it's a no.
All right, 2-star pitchers to add and stream for next week. Who are they?
2-star pitchers to add and stream for next week. All right, let's go with, again, not this weekend, but next week, beginning Monday, the 2-start options. I like Noah Cameron. He's at the Cubs. That's not great, but he's against the Guardians in a second turn, and that is very good. And Cameron has been very reliable. I think regardless of the matchups, you'd consider using him in a 2-star week. So one bad matchup, one good. Earns a yes for me. Jacob Lopez hasn't been as dominant in recent turns, but hasn't been a disaster either. He's at Texas, at Houston. Those are pretty good matchups. Landon Roop has been reliable of late, mixing in that changeup more. He gets the Braves, pretty good matchup, and then the Mets, a not so good matchup. But 2 starts, not a bad idea. Logan Allen has had a few good starts in a row. Don't entirely trust it, but I love the matchups. Orioles and Royals for Logan Allen. Mitch Keller, not so good matchups. Tigers and Diamondbacks. Okay. A little scary there, but in a points league with as effective as Keller's been, I think I'd probably do it. Zebby Matthews, I'm assuming he rejoins the Twins rotation Monday because they've left that spot open, and his last rehab start, 9 strikeouts in 4 innings, looked really good. He returns to face the Dodgers if he is back Monday. Don't like that, but the second matchup is against the Nationals, which is okay. Yeah, a pretty good sleeper for strikeouts with 2 starts there. And then Max Scherzer gets the Yankees and Tigers. Again, don't love the matchups, but Scherzer's looked pretty good lately. I think at least in points leagues. I'd do it for the extra start.
All right, what about the 1-star streamers for next week? You have 2 names here on the list.
Just 2. Sean Manaea gets the Angels. So I love Sean Manaea for this upcoming weekend against the Reds. I also love him for next week against the Angels, the most strikeout-prone team against left-handed pitchers. And then we've got Ryan Nelson at the Pirates. Really good matchup, obviously. Nelson made the mistake of throwing his fastball less than 60% of the time in his final start in the first half, so predictably got a bad result, but I imagine he'll be back to his usual fastball usage against the Pirates and give us a quality start. If you need to dig even deeper for 1-start streamers, Michael Wacha against the Guardians, Taj Bradley against the White Sox. I think there's some justification for both of those.
All right, Scott, and you are not the only one who likes Sean Manaea for the second half. I was updating my rankings here on Thursday, and I got Manaea all the way up to SP 55. So
Ooh.
that is must roster range. I think he's, right around 77,
He's-
78% rostered. So
He's closing in on 80. I think this is going to be the last time I get to feature him as a sleeper pitcher.
all right, the best hitter matchups for next week. We have the Cardinals, Rockies, Astros, Mariners, and Rangers. The worst hitter matchups, Red Sox, Yankees, Brewers, Twins, and Angels. Scott, who are your sleeper hitters for next week?
Well, a lot of names that got mentioned for the 10-day scoring period, as you might expect. With the Cardinals having the best matchups, including a series in Colorado. We got Ivan Herrera here at the top of the list. We've got Addison Barger here. Because remember the second 2 series for the Blue Jays in the 10-game scoring period were good, which means if you treat that as its own scoring period, they're also good. Barger, only one lefty he's going to face. Let's see here. We've got Josh Lowe with the Rays having only one lefty on the schedule. We've got Noelvi Marte and Austin Hayes. The Reds matchups are pretty decent, and they were both hitting well leading into the break. I think they're just under roster to begin with. That's Noelvi Marte and Austin Hayes. Lourdes Gurriel. I like the Diamondbacks matchups for this week. Pitchers like Colton Gordon and Brandon Walter, Mike Burrows, and Andrew Heaney. Yeah, I think Gurriel can take care of those. Only half a week of home games for the Rockies, but their series on the road is favorable. It's against the Orioles rotation, so I like Jordan Beck. I like Tyler Freeman. I think Ha-Sung Kim, if you need shortstop help, if you need stolen base help, you could give him a look. And then Jorge Polanco has gotten back to playing some against left-handers after an oblique injury was limiting him to just facing righties early on. Playing against lefties some. He was hot leading into the break. And the Mariners, as you mentioned, Frank, have the 4th best hitter matchups.
All right, that was our weekly preview brought to you by Travis Matthew, apparel designed for confidence and comfort no matter where the day takes you. And once again, Scott, we're back here rocking our Travis Matthew polos. I've got the one that we've seen you wearing before. It's kind of the half and half. I've got the tan up top, the black here on the bottom, extremely comfortable. What color are you rocking right there? Is that like a navy blue?
Oh, I'm going back to where it all began.
Uh-oh.
In terms of our Travis Matthew segment here. I got the golf shirt with the Braves logo on it. Golf shirt with a baseball logo on it. Who isn't inspired?
Yeah, I love that one too. I have the same one with the Yankees too. So regardless which team you're a fan of, you can head on over to travismatthew.com and you can find some baseball attire for you as well. Big thanks to Travis Matthew for making clothes for any occasion that are not only comfy, but stylish as well. All right, Scott, if we haven't confused everybody by now, let's wrap up with some daily weekend streamers. To stream or not to stream, we are back. We are so back, baby.
Yeah.
On Friday, we have JP Sears is at the Guardians. Slade Ciccone is against the Athletics. Charlie Morton is at Tampa Bay. Brandon Walter at the Mariners. And those are probably the 4 most interesting.
I feel like we kind of covered this at the start of the show, right?
Mostly, kind of.
Basically. So I had Slade Ciccone and JP Sears as sleepers, and I guess they're as good as the streamers are going to get. Yeah, I mean, if I have to pick a third, I guess Brandon Walter.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Charlie Morton at Tampa Bay. It's a little shaky there, but yeah, I think I probably would put Walter third on that list as well. What about on Saturday? We have Adrian Hauser, who is at the Pirates. Mike Burrows on the other side against the White Sox. Dean Kramer is at Tampa Bay. Kumar Rocker against the Tigers. Luis Severino at the Guardians. Logan Allen against the Athletics.
Mm-hmm.
Eric Lauer against the Giants. What do you think about Saturday?
Don't love it. Friday looks like a better day to stream. The only one I might be able to talk myself into is Logan Allen against the Athletics, since they're bad against lefties and he's been good.
Hauser at the Pirates.
Has he come back down to earth yet?
No, he's killing it.
Yet. Well, all right. Yeah, that might go okay.
What did Adrian Hauser do to you, Scott? Come on, man.
I mean, this isn't his first go round.
Adrian Hauser, 156 ERA and a 113 whip. Take that, Scott.
All right, 2020 through
Velocity's up.
2024, you had a 437 ERA, but that's fine. He's that's fine. You could use him against the Pirates, sure.
And then on Sunday, we have Trevor Rogers at Tampa Bay, Aaron Savali at the Pirates, Andrew Heaney gets the White Sox, Jeffrey Springs at the Guardians, and Jansen Junk against the Royals.
Junk made my sleeper pitchers for the weekend, so I will call him a streamer possibility for Sunday. Not that I'm enthusiastic about it. Hopefully you don't have to, but you know what? If you are doing the weekend scoring period all to itself, your options are limited and you may have a bunch of blank spaces if you don't stream. So this might be the most helpful this section has ever been.
Yeah. So I like Trevor Rogers at Tampa Bay. I agree with you on Junk against the Royals.
I had Heaney as a weekly streamer too, so I should mention him here. Don't feel confident in it at all, but at least he's going against the White Sox and is capable of giving 6 innings when he's pitching well. Oh, and of course Springs. I totally overlooked Springs. Okay, you know what? I overlooked a lot of these guys. Sunday's a good day to stream. And I will rank them thusly: Jeffrey Springs at Cleveland, Trevor Rogers at Tampa Bay, Jansen Junk against the Royals, Andrew Heaney against the White Sox.
All right. We are going to wrap there. For Scott, I am Frank. Thanks as always for tuning into Fantasy Baseball today. Please make sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify, and we will be back again next week in the second half. Bye-bye.